Good morning, All Souls. We're trying out a new light-filled processional this morning. We hope you will all join us in singing.
The things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. Mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I'm not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. I am light. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. Divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am light.
Beautiful. Thank you. Let us center ourselves for a moment and invoke these ancient words. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Nyapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Samicipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Yadidam chattari purisayugani atta purisapuggala. Yesa bhagavato savaka sangho. Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo. Anuttaram punyaketam lokasati.
I pay homage to the Blessed One, the Perfected One, the fully enlightened One. The beloved community of the Gracious One's disciples are good in their practice, are upright in their practice, are systematic in their practice, are correct in their practice. That is to say, the beloved community of the Gracious One's disciples are worthy of offerings, hospitality, gifts, and reverential salutation, the inspiration and the blessings for the good of the world. Our guest this morning is the Reverend Abi Janamanchi, who serves as the Senior Minister of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. Abi is, among other things, a leader in the interfaith community, a former president of the International Association for Religious Freedom, and a leading voice in our faith for multiculturalism and multi-religious life. Please welcome Abi to our pulpit again. Each week we light our chalice, kindling the flame of community once again. We light our chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. Please join in singing our hymn.
Good morning. Welcome to All Souls Church Unitarian. I'm Carrie Reichs, and I'm your worship associate this beautiful morning. We gather at All Souls in person or on Zoom, welcoming all genders, gender identities, sexual orientation, abilities, race, and religion. We gather to share our joys, celebrate our successes, or seek comfort when in pain. We gather to be present with ourselves and others, accepting each of us as we are today on this day that has been given to us. And after spending a sodden yesterday morning in the chilly rain watching my son play soccer at 8 a.m., I am particularly most grateful for this beautiful sunny day. I'd like to extend two special welcomes this morning. First, we gladly welcome those of you who are new to All Souls. Second, I'd like to send a very warm welcome to our sister community, the First Unitarian Church in Baltimore, who are joining us today on a virtual field trip as they take a trip of discovery to explore the diverse and multicultural UU community and their practices. We can all wave and say hello to them virtually. If you're new or visiting us, we ask you to please raise your hand on person or on Zoom so that we can give you a warm All Souls welcome. Are there any visitors? We're glad you're here. If you're in the sanctuary, the order of service can be accessed by the QR code located in the back of the pew in front of you. Select the left code, or you may request a printed program from an usher. For those on Zoom, a link to the order of service is located in the chat. Our weekly email newsletter is a great way to stay up to date on all the upcoming offerings of the church community, and boy, do we have a lot right now. If you're not currently subscribed, please sign up through the link located on the All Souls website homepage. There should also be a link in the Zoom chat. All Souls recognizes that our city and our church was built on lands taken from the indigenous people, and we lament this injustice. The closest village to our church was the Nacotchtank, from which the name Anacostia is derived. The residents were part of the Piscataway group of tribes still present in the DC and Maryland region today. For all of us who aren't native to this land or the land where you reside around the world, one way to practice our commitment to the eighth principle is to go beyond acknowledgement and find out what Native organizing is happening in your area and how you can support it. Our traditional greeting has become a beholding, in person and virtually. If you are on Zoom, I encourage you now to turn on your video and scroll through the fun in gallery view. Although you'll remain on mute, please exchange smiles and waves as you draw comfort from the exquisite gallery of this congregation. We can see you now, even in the sanctuary. If you are in the sanctuary, I encourage you to get up and greet one another in the manner that feels safest to you, whether it is an embrace, a nod, or an elbow bump. And don't forget to wave to the cameras located on the center balcony so that our friends online know that we are beholding them as well. Please, let's let the beholding begin. Thank you. Thank you, guys. It looks like we have a lot to chit-chat about, but I'm going to keep us moving here because we have a wonderful story for all ages coming up and some beautiful music. So I encourage you to continue your conversations and greetings across the hall in Pierce Hall. And Michael, if you're looking for my daughter, she's in the third row over here, okay? Welcome again to All Souls Church.
Good morning. I'm Dolores Miller, the Director of Religious Education. My pronouns are she, hers. The All Souls theme for December is presents. Aw, that's so sweet. Not that kind of presents. Thank you, though. This is the kind of presents where you pay attention to where you are and what you're doing right at that moment, being present. There was once a child named Nikolai who told her friends that she had questions about how to live a good life. Her questions were,
when is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do?
the heron told her that you have to plan ahead for the right time. And always plan ahead. The monkey told her that the right thing to do was to always have fun. And the dog said that the most important one was the one who makes the rules. Nikolai knew her friends were trying to be helpful, but her answers didn't seem quite right. She decided she needed to go see the old turtle because he had lived a long time and was very wise. She went high up into the mountain to find old turtle's home, where she found him digging in his garden.
Wise old turtle, I have come to ask 3 questions about how to live a good life. They are, when is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do?
The turtle smiled and went on digging. Nikolai noticed that he seemed tired, so she offered to do the digging. Just as they were finishing the digging, a storm came up. And as they ran for shelter, Nikolai heard a cry for help.
Help me, help me.
She found a panda on the ground whose leg had been hurt by a fallen tree. She helped the panda back to the hut for safety. Just then the panda looked around and said, my child, but where's my child? Nikolai went back through the storm into the woods until she found the child panda, shivering and scared and cold, and reunited him safely with his mother. The next morning, the sun was out and all was well. But Nikolai realized that she still hadn't had her questions answered.
But, my child, your question has been answered.
They have?
Yes. If you had not stopped by to help me with the garden, you would not have heard the panda's cry for help in the storm. So, the most important time was the time you spent in the garden. The most important one at that time was me. And the most important thing you could do was to help me dig the garden. Now, later, when you discovered the injured panda, the most important time was the time when you helped her with her leg and when you rescued her child. And the most important ones at that time were the panda and her child. And the most important thing that you could do was to help them and make them safe. So remember, the most important time is now. The most important one is the one you are with, and the most important thing for you to do is to do good for the one who is beside you. So these things, my dear child, are the answers to what's most important in our world. This is why we are here.
Thank you for your presence. We now invite our children and their teachers to go downstairs. K through 5th is in the dining room, middle school in the Tupper room, and high school in the Spirit room. Thank you so much.
Hello, All Souls. I'm Reverend Bill Sinkford. My pronouns are he and him. What a wonderful event took place in this sanctuary last night. The 45th anniversary concert of the Jubilee Singers. What a performance, and what a proud part of the history of this congregation to celebrate. I can almost still feel the energy circulating in this sanctuary. There are a number of things that I need to mention for you this morning. The runoff election for Senate in Georgia, you may have noticed, is this coming Tuesday. And the REAP Project invites everyone to join UU the Vote nationwide for one last push as we call black voters in Georgia tomorrow night. That's Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Amen. You can applaud for that, absolutely. There will be training provided, and phone banking has actually proven to make a difference, so we hope many will join us. You can sign up to take part in this at the church calendar on the website. And the holidays are here at All Souls. We'll trim the holiday tree at 6 p.m. this Tuesday, followed by cookie decorating in the Reeb lobby. The Christmas pageant will be presented as part of worship next Sunday, and the rehearsal, for those who need to know, is right after this worship service in the sanctuary. Made by UU, the holiday arts, crafts, and bake sale will take place right after that pageant service next Sunday. And the final day for the Posada Toy Drive is December 9th. The bin to receive unwrapped toys for ages 0 to 12 will be in the lobby until noon on Friday. You can check your order of service or the website for details about caroling, the cookie and craft exchange, and the Christmas Eve services. There are many opportunities to be in community and to celebrate on this holiday. And last but far from least, if you want to learn more about our faith and about All Souls, our next new member gatherings will be this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Zoom, and then in person after worship on December 11th. If you are new or newish, we hope that you will join Gary Penn to know more about this faith and this church. We now transition and move into that space in which we name the joys and sorrows of members of this community. There is one to name this morning. Member Sean McCormley died on November 21st after a long period of treatment for cancer. Our thoughts are with his daughter Brenda Nardone and the extended family during this time. The celebration of Sean's life will take place on January 21st at the UU Church of Arlington. And now into the silence. You can speak the names of those you are holding with special care in your hearts this morning. Or if you are on Zoom, you can put their names into the chat. We hold all of those names spoken and the many that continue to reside in the silent sanctuaries of our heart with care on this day. Will you pray with me now? Great Spirit that moves within us, and among us, and connects us to the source of life itself, God of our hearts and of our hopes. Our care cannot ease all the hardness of life. Ease is not what we have been promised, nor what we promise one another. But we can be with one another, witness for one another, accompany one another in our living. We can share the joys, praise the accomplishments, support those who struggle, comfort those who are hurting, and mourn with those who grieve. We can be part of a great cloud of witnesses that helps us all know and helps us all trust that we do not make life's journey alone. Our caring is itself the proof that love is real, and our caring is the reason for our faith that love will not ever let us go. May that be so. Ashe and amen.
Hello, All Souls. Morning. It's wonderful to be with you again and to be joining you on this day, this beautiful day. as we gather to celebrate Bodhi Day, a defining event in the life of the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, when he awakened to enlightenment. It is observed at this time of year by traditional Zen and Pure Land Buddhist schools in countries like China, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. So what did the Buddha awaken to? What was the content of his awakening? You see, when the Buddha attained enlightenment, he did not open his eyes and go, "Yippee, I'm enlightened." He actually said, "I am awake." The Buddha awakened to his own ignorance. He saw his ego symbolized by Mara for what it really was, an illusion. At the same time, he awakened to the reality of all life. In his face-to-face encounter with Mara, the ego self, who arrogantly says, "But I am your house and you live in me," the Buddha countered it with, "O Lord of my own ego, you are pure illusion. You do not exist. The earth is my witness." Therefore, since the earth represents all life, we can also say that the Buddha awakened to what was the reality of life. And this reality of life is infinitely dynamic and constantly changing, and is symbolized by the bright aura that surrounds him after his awakening. And after awakening to enlightenment, the Buddha gathered his 5 formal disciples and a few others to preach his first sermon. This was the first utterance of the 4 Noble Truths and the path of the middle way. And the Buddha also taught his disciples to cultivate 4 states of mind called the Brahma Viharas, or 4 divine states of being. Now, the 4 states are metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, appreciative joy, and upekkha, equanimity. The Buddha taught over and over and again that the Brahma Viharas are naturally occurring qualities of mind and heart that with a spacious mind arise naturally within us. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, calls them our spiritual birthright. And in many Buddhist traditions, these 4 states are cultivated through meditation. And these 4 states also interrelate and support each other. Today, I want to explore the 3rd state of mind, mudita. Mudita is a Sanskrit and Pali word which is roughly translated as sympathetic or appreciative joy. It means taking joy in the joy of others. It is an unconditional delight in the success, the goodness, and the well-being of others. So mudita is a delightful mind state, that which creates the feeling of the smiling heart. There's a beautiful story in the Buddha's life that really encapsulates what mudita is and is not. The Buddha was traveling through a kingdom with his disciples, and he was invited to a feast by the king in the kingdom. And so the Buddha accepted the invitation, and as they were arriving at the palace that evening, they encountered a person who was outside the palace begging for food. And as they passed this person, he joyously wished blessings upon the king and for all the good works that the king does, and that he was inviting the Buddha over to a feast. And the Buddha went inside the palace, and as they sat down to eat, the king asked the Buddha to offer a blessing. And the Buddha invoked a blessing upon the beggar, which surprised the king. In fact, he was quite hurt because he was expecting the blessing to be offered to him because he had prepared this grand feast for the Buddha and his disciples. And his disciples were surprised, and they asked him why he chose to offer a blessing to the beggar. To which the Buddha replied, the beggar was wholehearted in his joy for the king, whereas the king was happy to do this and was expecting recognition. Mudita. Now, in an effort to understand mudita, we might want to consider some of its opposites. One of those is envy. Another is jealousy. And my favorite, schadenfreude, which, as you're all familiar with, is a German word which means taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. I love that word, schadenfreude. You know, there's something deliciously wicked about it, isn't it? I first encountered it in seminary, in the writings of the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, another wonderful word, who called it the worst trait in human nature, an infallible sign of a thoroughly bad heart and profound moral worthlessness. Schopenhauer also said that anyone caught enjoying the suffering of others should be shunned from human society. Now, which made me sweat a little bit and wonder about the vocation I was getting into. But here I am. So I do enjoy a bit of schadenfreude from time to time. I've relished the feeling of moral superiority, especially when the suffering is seen as deserved punishment for being smug or hypocritical. For example, in 2015, I came across this story about the pastor Tony Perkins, who happens to be the head of the Family Research Council, an anti-LGBTQ organization that is based right here in DC, who said that floods were sent by God to punish abortion and gay marriage. And then his own house flooded. And he had to escape in a canoe. Right. Apparently, even the BBC enjoyed this story, which is where I came across, posting aerial pictures of his flooded house next to his "God is trying to send us a message" interview. So, mudita. Of the 4 Brahma Viharas, mudita is considered to be the most difficult one to practice. We hate it when our friends are successful, sang Morrissey, the former lead singer of the British band The Smiths. Although hate may be too strong a word, the fact remains that rather than rejoice in a friend's good fortune, we sometimes feel envy or jealousy. We sometimes take guilty delight in another's misfortune. But this is nothing new. We didn't invent it. More than 2,500 years ago, the Buddha recognized it and taught the practice of mudita as an antidote to envy, jealousy, or schadenfreude. to the feeling that our happiness is somehow threatened or diminished by the happiness of others. In the Samyutta Nikaya Sutta, chapter 46, verse 54, the Buddha declares that the heart's release by appreciative joy has the sphere of infinite consciousness for its excellence. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, speaks of mudita as a form of enlightened self-interest, which is what Emerson said. He posits that there are so many people in this world that it is simply reasonable to make their happiness as important as our own. And he said, if we can be happy when good things happen to others, our opportunities for delight are increased 6 billion to 1. So mudita is cultivating the inner wellspring of joy that is always available to us in all circumstances and is extended to all beings, not just to those close to us. But feeling joy for ourselves, let alone for others, is not always easy to do. One of the biggest impediments to feeling joy is the negative feelings we hold against ourselves and others. When we judge, when we compare ourselves to others and envy others, we perpetuate a sense of scarcity and insufficiency. And this sense of scarcity tells us that what we have is not enough, and others always have more. And the fact that others have more is cause for us to rationalize our negative emotions, such as, their head is already swollen with all the attention and appreciation that they get, and if I say something nice to them, isn't it just going to make them even more inflated? There's also that sense that joy is somehow a limited commodity, that there's always a supply chain issue with joy. And that if somebody else has it, there is less of it to go around. I can remember when I was young, my grandfather would cut up a delicious Indian mango for me and my cousins. I'm specifying a delicious Indian mango. They're the best in the world. Now, we would all whine endlessly that the other person somehow got a bigger piece. And one day, really frustrated with this, my grandfather took a ruler and measured out the exact same size pieces for each of us. Now, we still complain. I complained that somehow they got something fractionally bigger than than what I had gotten. But what I was really whining about is that my grandfather loved my cousins just a little bit more than me. And it somehow showed because he gave them a 1/4 of an inch bigger piece of mango than he did to me. Now, as an adult, I may not do this anymore, but inside, it still happens. Even if we really like someone, and even if we feel compassion for their suffering, I sometimes do still feel envious of people's success. Confession, no. And there's also the tendency to be happy for someone, but somehow hold back just a little. Of course, then I feel guilty about feeling envious, and then that cycle repeats. And this is what makes mudita so difficult to cultivate. And because of this very difficulty, perhaps, mudita can be a powerful liberating force, delivering us from the judgment and envy and isolation and other constrictive states of suffering. So how do we cultivate mudita? The way to go about growing mudita is offered by the 5th century scholar Buddhaghosa in his work, the Visuddhimagga, or the Path of Purification. He says the person just beginning to develop mudita should not focus on someone dearly loved, or someone despised, or someone feels neutral about. Instead, he says, begin with a cheerful person who is a benefactor to you. Contemplate this cheerfulness with appreciation and let it fill you. And when the state of appreciative joy is strong, then, he says, direct it toward a dearly loved person or a neutral person, and when you're ready, a person who causes difficulty. So the next stage is to develop impartiality among the four: the loved one, the neutral person, the difficult person, and oneself. And then, he says, appreciative joy is extended on behalf of all beings. So the practice of mudita can give us the opportunity to cultivate and respond from a place of spiritual wholeness and generosity of heart. Because the truth is, joy will not diminish when it is shared, it only increases. And this quote from His Holiness sums it up. If we focus too much on ourselves, we will not be happy, whereas to concern ourselves with the well-being of others is the gateway to great joy. If we're really serious about happiness, we need to open our hearts and focus on others as well as ourselves. So mudita is a means of uplifting the mind and the heart for brightening and bringing it more joy. And the success of this practice depends on how we direct our minds, how we experience and engage with the world, on our ability to assess the benefit or the lack of benefit of this practice, and then make use of it ourselves. But we don't wait for these qualities to develop on their own. We have to investigate our practice, recognize the results that we experience, and then take whatever remedial measures are necessary. And this practice empowers us to change and develop ourselves. So I would encourage us in this season of joy and hope and love and peace to really investigate and cultivate the practice of mudita, to learn from it and to delight from it. So I invite us to just take a few moments practicing mudita for ourselves and ourselves and each other and our world. So I invite you to settle comfortably where you are, wherever you are, and allow your mind, heart, and body to settle. And in this moment, let us take a deep breath and bring our breathing in alignment with our mind, our body, and spirit. And now begin by sending mudita to yourself, delighting in that part of your life that is going well. Recall a time when you said or did something that was kind, generous, or loving. Hold that thought And now do something radical. Offer yourself some appreciation. Say to yourself, may I be well, may I be happy. May I learn to appreciate the joy and happiness I experience. May the joy I experience continue and grow. May I be filled with joy and gratitude. As you offer these wishes to yourself, be open to whatever feelings arise in your body, your heart, and mind. Now, don't expect to instantly feel joy and delight in just one sitting. It is a practice. For now, simply note whatever arises and return to the phrases with as much compassion and loving kindness you can muster. May I be well. May I be happy. May I learn to appreciate the joy and happiness I experience. May the joy I experience continue and grow. May I be filled with joy and gratitude. And now, just for a moment, turn your attention to someone close in your life, a family member, loved one, friend, who is enjoying success. Connect with the actual good fortune of this person, the good things happening in their lives, and direct mudita towards them. Bless them. May your happiness and good fortune continue. May your happiness and joy increase. As you say these phrases or one like it, see if you can connect with the feeling in yourself out of which that good wish comes. The place of delighting in the happiness of others, of wanting to stay and grow and increase. Hold that feeling. Rest in that feeling. Cherish that feeling. And now, I invite us to hold that feeling and let it radiate out into the world, to all beings. May all be well. May all be happy. May all appreciate the joy and happiness I experience. May the joy we experience continue and grow. May all be filled with joy and gratitude. May it be so. Blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend, for your presence with us today. We care for all souls with capital letters, but we also care for all souls with lowercase letters. That means we care for our community beyond these doors as well. This concern surfaced in many of the Imagining Our Future conversations and is now number 6 of our new church goals: serve the needs of those in our city in partnership with local organizations. We already do this in many ways and are excited to announce another. Starting today, we will have a share the plate approach to our Sunday offering. This means, let me get through it, and then if you want to clap. This means that a different recipient organization will be featured for 1 month with a 50-50 split of all non-pledge contributions. The recipients are determined by the executive team of Tracy Hughes Trotter and Bill Sinkford on the recommendation of the Minister of Social Justice, that's me. Any congregant or staff member, however, is welcome to suggest an organization. Just drop me an email. Our plan is that most recipients will be local or regional groups rather than national, with the hope that All Souls congregants might join, volunteer, or otherwise support them in an ongoing way beyond simply the offering. So that's the plan going forward of Share the Plate. Our December recipient is Miriam's Kitchen, a local organization focused on ending chronic homelessness. And in addition to providing direct services, they partner with people who have experienced homelessness to advocate for greater city investment in effective housing programs. They have a particular focus on what they believe to be the best solution: permanent supportive housing, which pairs services with housing and targets the specific needs of every individual. All Souls has worked with Miriam's Kitchen over the last few years, and they have secured housing and provided other support to several of the people who are sleeping on All Souls' porch. We encourage you to give generously in support of their critical work in the neighborhood and across the city. Today's first shared offering will be graciously received. Thank you.
May all distress be averted. May every disease be destroyed. May there be no dangers for you. May you be happy and live long. May there be every blessing. May the divine protect you. Through the power of all the Buddhas, may you always be well. Through the power of all the Dhammas, may you always be well. Through the power of all the Sangha, may you always be well. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dhamma. I take refuge in the Sangha.
Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinassatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhidhigayuko bhava bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabbo buddhanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata Sabbho dhammanubhavena sada sottu bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sottu bhavantu te buddham sharanam gacchami dhammam sharanam gacchami Sangham Sharanam Gacchami.